Well, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. It is another Relate Well with Dr. Rick Marks, and it is so good to have you join me. I'm actually streaming live on three platforms right now. I got right here this camera in front of me. I've got uh, uh, we're on Facebook Live and we are on YouTube, and then my one right here that I'm pointing at is my Instagram. And so, listen, if you're joining me, I like these to be interactive. My Relate Well with Dr. Rick Marks lives. So, what I really want you to do, if you don't mind, of course, if you're going to hang with me, feel free to ask a question. Feel free to make a statement. I'll be monitoring the comment sections both on Facebook, YouTube, as well as on Instagram. So we'll be monitoring all of those. All right. And there's my bride and my wonderful daughter-in-law, who's you can see her crouching behind me there. I'm at home in my little home office here, and we will be doing a Facebook Live every evening, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this week and next week. So if you want to be a part, come hang out with us right here, 8 o'clock on Eastern time. If not, it'll be 9 o'clock Eastern time. But tonight we're starting at 8. Be 8 tomorrow night, 8 the next night, 8 the next night, and these are all live. So again, if you're joining me, all right, say hi, let me know you're there, and feel free to jump in, ask a question, make a statement, those kind of things. All right, and so I'd like this to be interactive. Now, we will be doing a live launch coming up here pretty soon on Relate Well. Relate Well is our relationship skills curriculum. We teach in Relate Well. We teach how to bond, how to attach, how to emotionally regulate. We have a skill called healing the heart to help you do an healthy emotional dump, if you will, in a healthy, mature way, so that you don't allow those things that are in you as they leak out to affect you and or your relationship. Everything we do in Relate Well is centered around what we call the four protectors of a relationship. I live by four words: goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy in all aspects of life. Or I call it HREG. H equals REG. When you live a life of humility, your tendency is to treat people with goodwill. You have a tendency to be respectful, and you have a tendency to be caring, empathy. HREG. All right. And so if I live my life as based on a life of goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy, then no matter what I do, I'm always protecting my relationships. And so the second thing that we do in our work is we believe the most important part of a marriage is us. When us wins, you both win. Us loses, you both lose. And we believe that everything in a healthy marriage should be centered around the idea of us. And by the way, folks, if you notice, my eyes are watering. So for those of you who are listening and you're further north than Florida, guess what, folks? We have pollen in the air. That's right. Pollen's in the air, and my allergies are acting up. So if you will just, humor me for a little bit and bear with me, you might see me have to water, rub my eyes or something. Okay, so let's get right into it. We're getting right into it. Again, last piece. Well, hello there, Mr. Clifton. It's good to see you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you reaching out. And I got your note today, by the way. And let's find a time to get together soon. Now, if you're following me on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, we are live. We are live. And so, give me a shout out, say hi. Feel free to ask a question. All right. This segment of Relate Well Live with Dr. Rick, we're talking about how do you deal with the spouse who has become disconnected, with the spouse who is distant. I've been married 38 years, folks. 38 years next month, February 25th, next month. And I remember years ago when I was, married 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Now, my background's a psychologist, but I'm also a minister. But I remember in those early days of my marriage at my church, we're in this newlywed class. Newlywed class, you're in it for 2 years, and then you go to the young couples class. And when you go to the young couples class, you're no longer a newlywed. And I remember seeing these people in the young couples class, married 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7. And I kept thinking, wow, I can hardly wait to be them. One day I'll be there, 5 years, 10 years, 38 to my first wife. We live by the principles that we teach. We both grew up in broken homes with a lot of abuse and a lot of addictions and craziness. And we knew that if we did not change and transform who we were, then we also knew that we would be passing on a dysfunctional generational curse to our kids. And so we sought to do things different. And I sought the best practices. I did a lot of my own healing, my own transforming my life. So did my wife. And here we are, 38 years of marriage next month. We are a strong us. We believe in our work. The most important part of marriage is not the husband or the wife. It's us. When us wins, you both win. When us lose, you both lose. And so we live for the idea of us, and we treat each other with goodwill, respect, humility, empathy in all aspects. Now, are we perfect? No. But you know what I've noticed? There were times in our marriage, she did not want to be close to me. She was distant. She was disconnected from me. He didn't feel much of an us. That old song by the Righteous Brothers, you lost that love and feeling. Believe me, she lost that love and feeling. And I'm willing to admit right here to you, I'm willing to admit that there are times where I probably wouldn't have love and feeling towards me either. In my woundedness and my brokenness and the ways I was treating her or talking to her, it's like she said once to me in our part of our journey. She said to me, I love you, but I don't like you. I wasn't real likable, if you think about it. But in those times, she was distant. And I didn't like the distance. I was afraid of it. She was disconnected. And I didn't like the disconnection. I couldn't stand it. And so we'll be talking then today about how do you deal with the spouse who's distant? How do you deal with them when they're disconnected? When they're sending the message, stay away. So let's get right into it. 10 tips. 10 tips. Got it. TEN. Here we go. Number 1. Respect your partner's differences. Would you just respect the differences that you two have? Luella's not like me and I'm not like her. And we're different. We're different. I'm pretty open and gregarious. And, if we're standing in line somewhere, I'll start talking to people. I engage people. Luella's more reserved. I'm more out there. She's not. All right. I'm one more of a risk taker. She's not. I'm more of a spender. She's not. Okay. Differences don't have to be destructive to a relationship. But when you start pushing your agenda, what you want, when it's not who they are, and you disrespect differences. Now, what kind of differences am I talking about? I believe we're different in personality. I think we have different perspectives of things. I have a perspective of dog. I want one really bad, folks. All right. My wife has a perspective of dogs. She does not want one really bad. And for years, we used to argue about this thing called dog, but I kept pushing my agenda. I wasn't respecting the fact that she didn't want a dog. All right. She wasn't respecting the fact that I did want a dog. And when you don't respect differences in perspective, differences in music, differences, whatever, you're going to push your partner away. You see, we have a talk that we talk about that we give on the power of perspective. Have you ever noticed that we in the West don't value relationships? We value winning arguments. Our value is actually in winning an argument, not having a relationship. And I've come to learn in my own journey that I would rather respect our differences and respect our perspectives and still have a relationship. The higher order way of living is living for relationship, but you can't have a relationship if you don't have understanding. In order to understand, you must respect your partner's differences. You can understand why they're the way they are. You can understand why they think the way they think or believe the way they do. But would you respect the differences? By disrespecting differences, you drive your partner away. They'll pull away from you. They'll disconnect from you. And so, number one, just remember, respect the differences that you and your partner have. All right. Now, number two, when they distant or if they're distant, when they disconnect, don't assume it is about you. When they're distant or disconnected, don't make the assumption you caused it. Check it out and find out what it's about. Here's the point for number two. Don't take their distance, disconnection, privacy, whatever, personal. Don't take it personal. It may not be about you. It just may be they need some alone time or time away just to kind of gather their thoughts or have some downtime or those kind of things. Lo likes time away from me and others. Nothing wrong with that, you see. I like time away. When I get away, I want to watch a documentary, those kind of things, I need that alone time. It's not that I don't want to be around her, but there are times that I need to disconnect. And replenish. That doesn't mean it's about her. It doesn't mean those things are about me. And so one of the things you have to do is not take their disconnection personally. All right. Even if what their disconnection is about you from their perspective, don't personalize it. Learn. What is it I've done that sends you this message that makes you want to make withdrawal? You see, what is it that I've done that causes you to want to be away from me? Become a student. The only way you can do that is move to humility. Humility is a very powerful way to live life. In humility, you won't personalize something. In pride, you will. And we know through research that humble people, when they enter into conflict, they solve conflict through compassion. And because they solve conflict through compassion, they tend to be cooperative. Where immature people, what we call emotional infants, emotional children, and emotional adolescents, in conflict, they move to defensiveness because it's prideful. And so one of the big things you can do is not personalize their distance. Don't take it personal. All right. Now, side note here, if you're joining me on be it Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, feel free to jump in, ask a question, make a statement. I'm actually monitoring all three of these, so that jump in and say something. If you have a question, say something. Let's make this interactive, okay? I want this to be a value to you. All right. I want this to be a value to you, and so if we can engage, it would really be it'd be more pleasurable for me. But I think I have a greater value for you as well. All right. Now, number three, don't chase them. Don't pursue them. If their behavior is saying, I need space, give me space, I need to pull away, respect it, folks. Don't chase them. Why do we chase? For me, it's some fear you have. There's an insecurity in you. And out of that insecurity or fear, you start to chase. Why? Because you want to solve the insecurity. Maybe you're afraid that they're going to leave you, or maybe you're afraid that if you don't do something, it won't be fixed, or maybe you believe that you're the cause and you don't want to feel like you're the cause, so you chase them to find out if you're the cause. And then when you find out you're not the cause, you don't believe it anyways because your fear has robbed you of a sound mind, and so you keep pursuing it and you tick them off. Folks, don't chase them. Respect their space. All right. Don't chase them. All right. Respect their space is the next one. Don't chase. Number 4, respect their space. All right. They go hand in hand. We'll talk a little bit more about respecting their space in just a minute. So don't chase them. To chase someone is more of a, it would be from their perspective. It's like you're trying to control them. They're needing time away for whatever reason, and you don't like the distance. You don't like the disconnection. So what you do is you chase them. Why? Because you don't like it. You feel uncomfortable, and so you chase them. But from their perspective, you're trying to control me. You're being disrespectful to me. I need time away. And you wonder why people get more and more distant, disconnected from me? Because you're disrespecting their space by chasing. So let's go. Number 1, respect the differences. Number 2, don't take their distance, privacy. Don't take their disconnection, personal. Number 3, don't chase them. And number 4, which follows from that one, respect their space. Now, folks, when we talk about space, there's different kinds of privacy, if you will, or personal space that we all have. We have physical space. In other words, when someone gets up real close to you, they start getting up really, really close to you, and you start thinking, whoa, get back, get back. You want them to back up. When someone starts getting really close in your personal space, there's something in your brain goes, hey, step back a little bit. That's personal space. Respect their personal space. Sometimes people disconnect because they're needing personal space and they just pull away. We also have what's called mental space. Respect their mental space. To tell someone they're not allowed to think the way they think, that they're not allowed to believe the way they believe, to tell someone that they can't see the things the way they see it. That's disrespecting their mental space. Listen, folks, we're all under the right to think and believe whatever you want. You have the right to be wrong as well. But don't discount what a person thinks and believes. Honor and respect it. You don't have to agree with it. And then we have what we call emotional space. Sometimes people need to get away emotionally. Maybe they need to lick their wounds or process a pain or ponder something that's going on in them emotionally. And and they distance and disconnect and detach for that time, you just see it as a threat. And that's why you can't personalize things. So respect their space. Respect their space, folks. Because when you respect someone's space, there's goodwill in that. To disrespect their space is ill will. Does that make sense to you? I noticed, Clifton, you start talking about something being a hard one. Not sure which one you're referring to, And, well, I don't mean to give you black eyes, my friend. I don't mean to give you black eyes, right? But, I will say if the shoe fits, wear it, my friend. You know me. I love you no matter what, Clifton. By the way, folks, that's Clifton Brentley, a wonderful counselor and a friend of mine from the Houston area. And it's great to have him here. And he's a wonderful, wonderful man and friend. And he's allowed me to mentor him personally and professionally. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful joy. Folks, respect their space. Now, here's the next one. Number 5. Whenever we get afraid or someone's disconnected or they move distance from us, they kind of put some walls up with us, our tendency to get afraid or angry, we get anxious about it. And what happens is you're now being triggered by the lower brain, right? And so what happens is your tone starts to change. Did you get that? Your tone of voice, your mannerisms, your body language starts to change. So here's the 5th point. Number 5, monitor your tone. Monitor your tone. There's a principle, it's in the Bible. It talks about, speak the truth in love, right? The idea is your truth doesn't have much meaning to someone else if you don't speak it in a loving way. If you speak it in an unloving way, speak the truth in love. Now, I want to ask you a question. How would you know how would you know if someone is speaking the truth in love? That's a good question, isn't it? How would I know? How would you know if I'm speaking a truth to you in love? Would you know if I was doing it in an unloving way? You would. But how? It's simple. We say it this way and we're like, well, love has a tone to it. Love has a tone to it. You see, the lower order reptilian brain down here, this animal brain down here, this is the fight, flight, or freeze response of the brain. You see, and whenever we feel threatened, we get triggered at about 1/2000th of a second into fight, flight, or freeze. And when you're triggered into that defensive posture, your body language changes. Your eyes may, get wide. They may go scowl if you're in a fight response. But your tone changes as well. And here's what you know through research around communication. The brain responds 92% to tone and body language. The brain will read tone and body language before it ever reads the verbal message. You wonder why it talks about speaking the truth in love? Why? Because if love has a tone to it, then guess what? Speaking in an unloving way has a tone to it as well. And when you speak in an unloving way, i.e., tone will tell you, you actually trigger people into a defensive posture. You see, this isn't just human. Animal brains have this lower level fight, flight, or freeze response. And let's use a dog example. Dogs understand tone. Here's an example I'm talking about. Are you ready? Follow this. Let's say I say to a dog, "Come over here, boy. Come over here. Yeah, that's right. Get over here. I love you. You're a great dog." That dog's going to run from you. You want to know why? Because that dog brain reads the tone. And the tone tells the dog's brain, this is not a safe person. Get away from him. Dog ain't going to come close. He's going to run from you. Let's change the tone. Ready? What if I say to a dog, "Come here, buddy. Come on. That's right. Come on. That's right. I hate you. That's right. I'm taking you to the vet today, put you to sleep." The dog's going to come right up to you. Why? Because your tone tells the dog that you're safe when you really are not. When your partner detaches, when they get distant, monitor your tone. Because you can come across in a condescending way, in a judgmental way, in a critical way. You can come across as angry, all through your tone. Mind your tone. Mind your tone. You see, if I was to speak with goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy, you understand that my tone would follow suit as well. And when my tone is pleasant and kind, people aren't triggered by you into defensiveness. Because people don't tend to be triggered into defensiveness when a loving tone is present. So number 5 on how to deal with a distant spouse is just monitor your tone. Because if your tone is negative, all you're doing is convincing them to continue to stay distant from you, to stay disconnected. So monitor your tone. That's true, Keith. Tone can be savage. Exactly right. All right. For those taking notes, here's number 6. Number 6. All right. Plan a ritual for emotional connection. Now, this comes from some of the work of Dr. John Gottman. Dr. Lori Gordon, who is my great mentor, had a way of doing this as well. Plan a ritual for emotional connection. Sometimes people need space, but when you're disconnected, you can feel it emotionally, So if you want to keep a connection going, you need to have some type of ritual that creates an emotional bond. Now, what do I mean by a ritual? A ritual is something that you both choose to do as a couple. And that purpose of that ritual is to connect you. It is to keep you emotionally connected. It builds intimacy. It builds the friendship. It keeps you connected, or in my world, it enriches the us. Remember, you have the way you know you have an us in your marriage is you feel it. The way you know you don't have an us in your marriage is you feel it. You can feel it when you have it and you feel it when you don't. So if you want to keep the sense of usness present, then you have to nurture it. And that's what emotional rituals that create emotional connections do. Now, what are some rituals for emotional connection? It might be we go on a date each Friday night. It could be every other Tuesday we give each other a massage. It might be that every Wednesday night we sit down and watch a certain TV show together. It might be that on Thursday nights from 6:30 to 7, when we're both home, we go on a walk together or ride bikes together. Rituals that build emotional connection actually enrich the usness. It increases your bond. And why is this important when it comes to disconnection? Because we all need time at times to pull apart. We may pull apart, but here's the powerful thing. If you have emotional rituals that build emotional connection and you sustain those rituals, then when disconnection comes, it doesn't have the degree of negativity on the relationship. It's not as harmful. You're both be more respectful to each other, and you'll get through whatever it is that's creating this connection sooner, quicker. So build some emotional connections, all right? And be sure that when you're doing these rituals for emotional connection, you only talk about positive things. Don't go on a date and talk about negative stuff. That'll ruin the date. If we went out on dates and all I want to do was talk about problems, I'd probably quit going. Talk about the positive things. You see, things you can be grateful for, things you appreciate, things that brought you joy that day. Have conversations about those things. All right. Number 7. Sometimes when people distant, when they disconnect, we get afraid. We want to understand it. So here's number 7. Do not interpret. Do not diagnose. Do not label their behavior. Don't do it. I'm telling you. Just accept where they are. But our tendency is to create an understanding about it. Well, you're just doing that because, you're doing that because of this. You're this way. It's because of that. And when you start diagnosing someone's behavior because they've pulled away or need time away, all you're doing is creating more and more reasons for them to stay disconnected from you. Don't diagnose why they're doing. If you want to know why someone's doing, don't assume you know. Ask. I have a personal belief, and I believe I'm right. But here it is. It is disrespectful. Hear me, folks. It is disrespectful to give people input into their lives without their permission. Did you get that? People don't like telling you what's going on in their life. You telling them what's going on without permission. You don't like it. You wouldn't like it if I did it to you. They're not going to like it either. You see, don't diagnose their behavior. Sometimes people just want to be distant. They want to be detached. They're working through something. Don't take it personal. We talked about that, right? Respect their space and don't label it. I know you need some kind of understanding so you feel secure, but just don't diagnose it. Well, this is because you're depressed, or this is because of you. All you don't do is make things worse, folks. Don't diagnose it. Don't label it. Don't try and interpret their behavior. Well, this is because of your mother, and this is why. Leave all that out. Just leave all that out. Number eight tip. Are you ready? Here it is. Monitor your own behaviors and attitudes. Monitor your own behavior and attitudes. When someone's attached and disconnected, we don't tend to have self-awareness and self-control because we're trying to change something. We're afraid. We want the connection. So you pursue those kind of things. And what happens is you lose self-control. And a lot of times, I love that, Clifton. Can I just start over? Yes, my permission, my friend. My permission. All right. And so what happens is we start losing control of ourselves, but we don't know that we are. Become self-aware of what you're feeling. Become self-aware of what your brain is telling you when they're distant or disconnected. Become self-aware of what your emotions are wanting to do. Become self-aware of what your brain's telling you about what they're doing and regulate it. I learned something a long time ago. See, in my brokenness, folks, I know it's going to sound weird, but it's true. I used to think, as I'm about to tell you this, I'm thinking about different times that I would blurt out stuff and I never should have. How immature I really was. I used to think in my broken, wounded days, if I felt something or thought something, then I had to share it. I had to share it. I did this when I worked at Six Flags over in Georgia. I'm mad about something. I remember, folks, when I was at Six Flags over in Georgia, working there, my second year, I was an assistant manager at a food stand, and I was angry about something. I kid you not. I was like, 17, 18 years old, kind of impetuous, but I actually went into a senior management meeting of the food service division, folks, and I just started spouting off what I was angry about. I had no self-control. I didn't know how to self-regulate. Folks, monitor your behavior and attitudes to make sure that you are healthy and mature, you're operating out of goodwill, and you're being respectful, and you're being caring. You can't do that without humility. You see, I learned something in my journey. It's an old Jewish proverb that says, a fool appears wise. Now listen to that. A fool appears wise when he keeps his mouth shut. Did you get that? Not everything you think or feel needs to be shared. I had a mentor say it this way to me. When in doubt, keep it out. When in doubt, keep it out. That was a phrase he gave me. If I doubt on any level whether I should say it, don't. Trust the doubt. And so if you want to make sure you have a healthy relationships and you have, even when your partner is distant or disconnected, monitor your behaviors and attitudes. All right, number 9. No matter what, when they're detached, when they're disconnected, always, to the best of your ability, not perfectly, but maturely, you treat them with patience and kindness. With patience and kindness. Now, you may think, I've heard those two words before. Yeah, there's a passage in 1 Corinthians 13 in the Bible that says love is patient and love is kind. And that would be true. So I'm actually telling you to treat them lovingly. But we want to be honest. You want to treat them with patience. Be patient. Give them space, right? Respect their space. All right? Be patient with that. When we are impatient, we tend to want to control something. And you can feel when a person is impatient, and you can feel when they're patient. But kindness is huge. One of the things that I always appreciate about Ellen DeGeneres and her show is she'll always end her show with telling you to be kind. to be kind. And yet the research on marriage by John Gottman points out the greatest attribute you have for your marriage is to always be kind. Do you understand? To live a life of kindness requires maturity. Even when your partner is being unkind, you respond back with kindness. Why? Goodwill. Goodwill always treats people kindly. But when you treat people unkindly, I'm going to tell you something, folks. That says a lot more about who you are than it does who they are. You can blame them for all you want for your unkindness, but in the end, your unkindness is your choice. It's my choice. And so when a person is distant or disconnected, just be patient and be kind. Kindness is a powerful trait. It's also an attribute of love, because love is patient and kind. And when you look at the research Gottman, which I just pointed out, that the single greatest trait you can have in your marriage is kindness. And especially kindness and patience is needed when they detach and draw away from you. And here's number 10. We need a drum roll. Clifton, if you got a drum roll, buddy, play it for me. Here it is. Number 10 tip. Number 10 tip for how to deal with a disconnected and distant spouse. Always find things to appreciate and be grateful for. Hey, they may be over there. They may not want a connection to you. They may not want to be close to you right now. And all you're going to do is focus on the negatives. They're still there. You can be grateful for that. They're still talking to you on some level. You can be grateful for that. You can be grateful for a lot of things. When you focus on gratitude, research shows that when you begin to live a life of gratitude, it is much more difficult to live in anger and fear. Emotionally, psychologically, when the brain operates from gratitude, you feel gratitude. But when you're in that, it's difficult for the brain to feel anger, resentment, bitterness, and fear. Is it any wonder why so many religions talk about being grateful, being thankful? Christianity does. Many others do. Live a life of gratitude. Find things to be grateful for. Here's why. Though they're distant and disconnected, if I focus on things that I'm grateful for about them, it lessens the impact of the distance on you psychologically. Why? Because you're focusing on positive things about them as well. It's when you live with your spouse is completely negative, that's about you. And listen, and I'll tell you, I work with people who've had all kinds of deep hurts by their spouses. All right. Some stuff, if I told you, you'd probably roll your eyes at. But I still believe you can find a reason to be grateful. I do. Now, this is important. This is really, so hear me. Me finding a reason to be grateful isn't suggesting I'm living in denial. To live a life of gratitude, folks, doesn't mean that I'm negating, invalidating, denying, rationalizing hurt and pain. It doesn't. It doesn't mean I'm going to live in some kind of a fantasy world as if everything's okay, la la land, right? No. But to live a life of gratitude means in the midst of my reality, I can find things to be thankful for. I can find things to value and remember. And that requires maturity. And I'm here to tell you, folks, being distant and detached is a part of life at times. It's okay. But you, as their spouse, how you handle their distance and detachment can have a negative or positive impact in that journey that they're on. If you've created a distance and detachment, figure out what it is you've done. Ask questions. Have I treated you in such a way that you want this distance? If it is, learn from it. Ask yourself, to any degree, are they right about that? To any degree, are they right about what they're saying about me? And I'm here to tell you, if at any degree they're right, they're still right. Did you get that? If it to any degree they're right about you, they're still right. And a guy once said to me, all right, Marks, he said, that may be true. Yeah, I can see that, but that's only 20%. And he's arguing, I'm 80% not that way. I'm 20% that way. And I said, I can respect your view. Here's a problem you're missing. You said, what's that? I go, this part of you that she sees that called her the distance, that you're only saying is 20%. I respect it. You see these 20%, but from her perspective, it's 95. And therein lies the problem. From her experience, it's 95% of the problem. But you only want to see it as 20%. Humility will allow me to step into that person's world, see how things are from their perspective. I don't have to agree. That's the power about healthy relationships. You can agree to disagree to have a relationship. The key is, am I doing something intentionally to hurt my spouse? If I am, and they distance, I need to own it. But sometimes their distance and attachment, it's not about me. But in our fears and insecurities, we assume it is. All right, here's a review. Ready? 10 tips for handling a spouse who's disconnected from you. Number 1, respect your differences. That'd be your differences in views, your difference in perspectives, your differences in feeling, differences, etc. Number 2, don't take their distance or privacy or disconnection personalized. Don't personalize it. Don't take it personal. Number 3, don't chase them. If they say stop, stop. If they say leave, leave. Right behind that, don't chase, is respect their space. Respect their personal space, respect their emotional space, respect their intellectual space. Respect it. Next one is monitor your tone of voice. All right. And that also means you have to monitor your body language. Next, plan a ritual for emotional connection. Rituals are repeated behaviors. That's a ritual. That when you do these things, it creates an attachment. All right. Plan those. And when you're doing whatever it is you do for emotional connection, be it a bike ride, a walk, a weekly dinner date, whatever it is, talk about positive things. Don't talk about problems. Number 7, don't diagnose, don't label what they're doing or their behavior. All right. Number 8, monitor your own attitudes, monitor your own behaviors, monitor you. Monitor you. Become self-aware and practice self-control. Number 9, no matter what, you treat them with patience, and you treat them with patience, and you treat them with kindness. And lastly, live a life of gratitude. Always find something to be grateful for. All right. Don't know if this was helpful or not, but that is another Relate Well with Dr. Rick Marks. Thanks for being a part and joining me. And we will be on tomorrow night, typically 8 o'clock is my goal. And we'll do another Relate Well with Dr. Rick. We'll be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights, this week and next week. And folks, National Marriage Week is coming up. National Marriage Week is coming up. We are doing a Relate Well launch. We will be doing a launch of Relate Well, our online curriculum, at a significantly reduced price. And not only will you get the curriculum at a significantly reduced price, those who enroll and purchase the Relate Well program, and you go through it week by week, the 9 weeks, you'll have 4 online live meetings with me, Q&A, and there's other things that'll benefit you as well. So go to the Facebook page, Dr. Rick Marks. Dr. Rick Marks. Rick Marks is my Facebook personal page. Dr. Rick Marks is my professional page. Go like Dr. Rick Marks. You'll get all the information on the launch there. All right. You'll also see it on Instagram. And by the way, if you have a question for a topic you'd like me to cover, send me a note. Send me a note. I'll write it down. I'll incorporate it into my table of content in order to speak about at some point. So have a great evening, everyone. I am going to go visit my bride, and you all have a great life, a great life. Hope you have that too. Have a great evening. And remember, live for us, everybody. Take care.